Have you ever looked around your living room, maybe after breakfast, and thought, this is my place and I'm not giving it up? I do that most mornings. I'm 82, and I plan to live free right here for as long as I can. I'm not knocking anyone who chooses a facility. Some folks thrive there, but I've made up my mind. I want my coffee in my own mug, my books in their crooked stacks, my music playing too loud, if I feel like it. Today I want to share the rules I live by that keep me here, on my own terms, and they're simple enough that you can start using them today. We're going to talk about the daily moves that keep your body strong, the home tweaks that make accidental falls a lot less likely, and the little routines that give you control over your day. These aren't theories. They're the habits that let me sleep in my own bed with peace of mind. The biggest shift for me came when I stopped treating independence like something I deserved and started treating it like something I trained for. Think about athletes. They warm up, they practice, they build fundamentals. At our age, independence is a sport, an event is daily life. Standing up from a chair, getting out of the car, carrying a laundry basket, balancing on one foot to put on a sock. Those are our events. If we stop practicing them, they get harder. So my first rule is to train for the life I want. Every single day, I do a few moves that make living at home easier. Nothing fancy, no equipment needed. I sit down and stand up from a chair 10 times without using my hands. I hold onto the counter and lift one knee up in balance for a slow count of 10 on each side. I reach up to a shelf and then down toward my toes gently to keep my back and shoulders moving. And I walk. Some days it's the block. Some days I make laps in my hallway if the weather isn't cooperating. If you haven't moved much lately, check with your doctor first and start small, but start. Strength isn't about lifting heavy weights. It's about being able to lift yourself. Balance isn't about standing on one leg like a flamingo for a minute. It's about not wobbling when you step out of the shower. 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes later in the day has done more for my confidence than any fancy gadget. People sometimes say, but I'm tired, and I get that. I tell them to pair movement with something pleasant. I do my kitchen counter exercises while the kettle boils, or I march in place while the evening news talks about the weather. When you connect these moves to routines you already have, they become automatic. And every time you stand up without pushing on your thighs or get to mailbox without gasping, you're training your nervous system to trust your body again. That trust matters. It's the difference between deciding to walk around a museum with your grandchild or sitting on a bench because you're afraid of stumbling. Independence feels like a mindset, but it's built on muscles, balance, and breath, so I protect them like gold. Now, if independence is a sport, the playing field is your home. My second rule is to fall-proof the space where I spend most of my time. Falls are sneaky. They don't just happen to other people. They happen when the dog's squeaky toy rolls under your heel, or when you're reaching for a dish on a top shelf and twist the wrong way. A few years back, I caught my foot on a curled rug edge near the hallway and did a little dance I don't care to repeat. I didn't fall, but I learned. The next day, I rolled up every loose rug and either put proper grippers under them or said goodbye. I added light where shadows used to live. Stick-on night lights down the hallway, a brighter bulb by the front door, and a motion light in the bathroom, so I'm never feeling around in the dark. In the shower, I put in a sturdy grab bar, not one of those suction things that give you false confidence. I use a non-slip mat, and on days when my knees feel creaky, I sit on a simple shower bench and take my time. Dignity isn't speed. Dignity is not landing on the tile. I also move my most used items to the places my body likes best, between my shoulders and my knees. If I use a pan every day, it lives on the middle shelf, not the bottom cabinet that requires me to fold like a paper clip. The step stool went to my neighbor with taller grandchildren, and I bought a reacher tool for grabbing light things without overstretching. Cord got taped down or rerouted. Shoes were another quiet revolution. I keep a pair of supportive, non-slip shoes by the door and a pair that lives inside. Slippers are cozy, but if they don't hug your heel, they're trip magnets. This might sound like a lot of little things, and it is, but together they turn your home from a hazard course into a safe harbor. And when your home is safer, your brain stops bracing for danger with every step, which frees up energy for more interesting things. The third rule is about taking charge of mornings, because mornings set the tone for the whole day. If the first hour is chaos, the rest of the day is catching up. I used to wake up, glance at the clock, and kind of float into the day. Now I have a simple routine that starts the moment my feet touch the floor. I sit on the edge of the bed and take 3 slow breaths. I wiggle my toes and roll my shoulders to greet my body. Then I drink a glass of water that's waiting on my nightstand, because hydration isn't about being thirsty. It's about keeping everything from your digestion to your balance tuned up. I pad to the kitchen and have something with protein, a scrambled egg, yogurt with berries, or peanut butter on toast. Because coffee alone makes me jittery and clumsy, and I've learned clumsy is not my friend. Only after that do I take my medications. This is where a tiny system changed everything. I keep my pills in a weekly organizer and set phone alarms for times I need them. Even if your phone is not your favorite gadget, it will do you the favor of remembering when your mind is on the garden or the crossword. I check off a little box on the paper by the fridge. Nothing fancy, just a date and a tick mark. That habit has rescued me from the did I take it or not loop more times than I can count. On Sundays, I refill the organizer at the same time I water the plants. If a doctor adjusts a dose, I write it down immediately and tuck the note into that organizer. So the change is in the place where it matters, not floating around in a pile of mail. And I keep a short list of my medications and doses in my wallet. If a friend drives me to an appointment or I end up at urgent care for a sprained wrist, I don't have to rely on memory. Another tiny morning ritual, I swear, by is a quick check-in with my body. I sit with a cup of tea and ask, where am I stiff? Where am I strong today? What needs attention? On days when my knee whispers, I choose routes with fewer stairs. On days when I feel sparky, I walk a little farther. It's not about being perfect. It's about paying attention. And if you use a blood pressure cuff or glucose monitor, make it easy on yourself. Keep it where you actually sit, not tucked in a drawer. The easier it is to use, the more likely you'll keep tabs on yourself without turning it into a chore. All of these routines give me a gift that's easy to underestimate. Momentum. When you had a sip of water, move your joints, eaten something steady, and handled your pills, you're already on your own side. You are less likely to say yes to things that drain you and more likely to say yes to a short walk with a friend or tackling that drawer you've been meaning to sort. Independence grows from those small, ordinary choices. And when a day goes sideways, because they do, I don't throw out the whole plan. I do one piece, even if it's just a few sit-to-stands while the soup heats. Consistency beats intensity at our age. Everything I've shared so far comes down to respect. Respect for your body, respect for your space, and respect for your time. When you treat those 3 with care, you make it far less likely that someone else will need to manage them for you. There's plenty more I do to keep this light humming, and it builds right on top of these foundations, one simple, doable habit at a time. Food is the next lever I pull, because the right plate makes the rest of the day easier. I used to think eating well-meant complicated recipes and a sink full of dishes. Now I treat meals like fuel stops. If I want my legs steady and my mind clear, I need steady fuel. At breakfast, I add something that sticks with me, a palm-sized portion of protein, not just toast and coffee. It might be an egg with spinach, cottage cheese with sliced peaches, or a smear of peanut butter on whole grain toast with a few berries on the side. I keep it simple and colorful. At lunch, I aim for what I call the easy plate. Half of it plants, a quarter protein, a quarter something starchy that doesn't make me sleepy. That could be a bowl with beans, chopped tomatoes, cucumber, a handful of greens, a spoonful of brown rice, and some chicken or tuna on top. Dinner is often a pot of soup I made on the weekend and froze in single portions. A broth with carrots, celery, onions, lentils, and a little sausage keeps me full. And all I do is warm it up and add a slice of bread. If your appetite is smaller these days, that's fine. Just tuck a little protein into each bite. Yogurt, beans, eggs, chicken, tofu. Even a glass of milk can quietly build a muscle that keeps you out of trouble when you hit an uneven step. Shopping became easier when I stopped trying to remember everything. I have a short, permanent list stuck to the fridge: greens, berries or apples, eggs, beans, a loaf of bread, milk or yogurt, tuna, carrots, onions, and something I'm excited to eat. I add a star next to anything I'm low on. When I do go to the store, I go after breakfast when I have energy and the aisles aren't crowded. Some weeks I don't go at all. I'll order delivery for the heavy things like cat litter, paper towels, and cases of sparkling water. There's no medal for lugging a sack of potatoes up the stairs by yourself. And I always stock a lazy shelf in the pantry. Cans of soup with extra frozen vegetables I can toss in, microwavable rice, and packets of pre-cooked grains. Lazy food can still be good food if you choose it on purpose. Hydration is a quiet hero in all of this. I keep a water bottle by the places I actually sit, not just by the sink. To make it a little more fun, I'll drop in a slice of lemon or a splash of juice. If you struggle to remember, put 2 rubber bands around the bottle. Each time you finish it, slide one down. By evening, both bands are at the bottom, and you've done your body a favor. Good hydration keeps my blood pressure steadier when I stand up, helps with digestion, and even makes my skin less cranky. And don't be afraid of seasoning your food. A squeeze of lemon, a pinch of herbs, a drizzle of olive oil can turn simple ingredients into something you look forward to. When food tastes good, you'll eat enough of it to keep your strength up. There's also a rhythm to eating that saves me from the afternoon wobblies. If I go too long without a snack, I get shaky and careless. So I keep small, ready to grab things at eye level. A banana, a little bag of nuts, a piece of cheese, or a hard-boiled egg. If sweets call your name, as they do mine, pair them with something that slows them down. A cookie with a handful of walnuts or a scoop of ice cream after dinner, not before a walk, makes a difference. I'm not perfect, and I don't need to be. I just try to make the easy choice the smart one by arranging my kitchen for the person I am at 3 p.m., not the motivated version of myself at 9 a.m. Independence also means I don't pretend I could do everything alone. My next rule is to build a circle before I need it. I think of like a quilt, different pieces stitched together that keep me warm. On my refrigerator, there's a simple sheet with 3 names. A neighbor who has a spare key and doesn't mind a text, my daughter who lives across town, and a friend from church who is usually free in the afternoons. Each knows they're on that list, and they know what I might ask them for: a ride to the clinic if I'm lightheaded, a quick check if I don't answer by lunchtime, or a hand with a high shelf. In return, I'm the one who waters a neighbor's plants when she travels, or I make a double batch of soup and leave a container at my friend's door. Reciprocity keeps it from feeling like charity. It feels like community. I also have a small, if something happens, plan. On the inside of my front door, out of sight from the street, but easy for me to reach, there's a folder with my medication list, allergies, my doctor's number, and copies of my insurance card. If I ever need urgent help, nobody has to dig through drawers. I told the folks on my list where that folder lives. I don't make a big production out of it. It's just another way of being prepared, like keeping a flashlight in the kitchen. I wear a simple bracelet with my name and an emergency phone number. It's not flashy, but when I'm out walking and feel a little off, it makes me brave enough to keep going, knowing someone could reach my people if I needed it. The people in my circle aren't just for emergencies. They are part of the routine that keeps me steady. On Tuesdays, my neighbor and I trade tasks. She's tall, so she changes the smoke alarm battery when it chirps. I'm organized, so I help her sort her paperwork for an hour while we gossip. On Fridays, a friend and I go to the grocery store together. We split a taxi if we need to and trade coupons like teenagers. We laugh more, we carry less, and somehow the trip feels like an outing instead of a chore. If you don't have nearby family, it's still possible. A community center, a hobby group, or even chatting with the same cashier each week can grow into a web of people who know your name and notice if you're not yourself. The point isn't to collect friends. It's to create a few reliable threads that hold when life tugs hard. The last piece of this layer is letting small technology extend my reach. I am not a gadget person by nature, but I made peace with a few tools because they make living here easier. My grandson helped me set up the medical ID on my phone. So if I'm ever in a pinch, a helper can see my name, allergies, and emergency contact without unlocking it. He also showed me how to say call Mary or text I'm running late without touching the screen. Voice commands felt silly at first, but they're a gift when my hands are full or I'm steadying myself with one hand on the counter. I put inexpensive smart bulbs in the hall and the lamp by my favorite chair, and I can turn them on with my voice before I stand up. That one change cut down on awkward reaches and darkroom stumbles. A doorbell camera let me stop rushing to the door. If I don't recognize the face, I can speak through the speaker and take my time. For walks, I wear a simple watch with a big, clear face that also has a button I can press to call my emergency contact. Some people use a pendant. The shape doesn't matter, only that you'll actually wear it. My pill organizer now sends a chime to my phone if I ignore it too long, which is helpful on days I'm busy in the garden. If the word app makes your eyes glaze over, pick one thing and let a younger relative or neighbor set it up. Invite them over for tea, hand them your phone and say, please make this do two things. Remind me about my pills and call my daughter if I ask it to. You don't have to understand everything under the hood. You just need the one or two features that make your day smoother. And if the new things truly drive you mad, there are old school equivalents that still work beautifully. Sticky notes, a wall calendar, a key lockbox for trusted helpers, and a cordless phone with big buttons where you can program your 3 people on speed dial. The goal isn't to be modern. It's to be safe and comfortable. All of these choices, steady meals, a simple circle of support, and a few helpful tools, take the friction out of the day. They let me save my energy for part of life I actually want to spend it on, like sitting in the sun with a book or saying yes to a last-minute matinee. It looks like a lot when you list it, but lived out, it's just a gentle rhythm. I wake up, I fuel up, I reach out when it makes sense, and I let little bits of technology do the remembering so I can do the living. Another rule that keeps me here is making the house work for the future version of me, not the one who feels strong today. I think of it as lightening the load. I don't need to win a prize for carrying laundry across the house, so I put a small rolling hamper in the hallway and a foldable stool in the kitchen so I can sit to chop vegetables or rinse dishes. I keep a basket at the bottom of the stairs and only carry what fits in it. No more balancing stacks of things like a circus act. Once a week, I choose one small spot to simplify. One drawer, one shelf, one stack of papers. If I haven't used it in a year, and it isn't deeply sentimental, it finds a new home. Less stuff means fewer hazards and less cleaning, and it makes it easier to find what matters. The goal isn't a magazine-perfect house. It's a home that's easy to live in. I also move my everyday life to the rooms that are easiest to get to. My favorite chair, my good lamp, a charging cable, my journal. The pills I need in the morning. Everything I use most is within a short, safe walk. If stairs are part of your home, Consider whether you can make the main floor your center of gravity. Lighter, simpler, closer. Those 3 words save me steps and stress every day. I have what I call maintenance Mondays. It sounds grand, but it's just a standing date with myself to keep the bones of this place and my routines in decent shape. I run the dishwasher, even if it's not full so plates don't sit with sticky edges. I toss out anything expired in the fridge, refill the pill box, and check that the flashlight by the bed still works. If a light bulb is flickering or the smoke alarm chirps, I don't shrug at it for a month. I write it down and either do it myself or text the person who can. I've learned to buy time instead of things. Every other month, a local college student comes for 2 hours to help with heavier chores, vacuuming under the sofa, flipping the mattress, changing the high light bulbs. It costs less than almost anything else in my budget and gives me back both safety and comfort. If you don't have someone you know, ask a community center for reputable names or look for insured helpers. There's a pride in doing it all yourself, but there's also wisdom in sharing the load so you can keep living the life you want. My independence stretches as far as my transportation, so I set up wheels I can count on. My phone has a taxi number and a rideshare app ready to go, but I also wrote those numbers on a card in my wallet because batteries die at the worst moments. I tried the ride app a few times on purpose when I was in a rush, just to learn it before I needed it. Now, if my knee protests or the weather turns slippery, I don't talk myself into risky walks. I order groceries when the list gets long, and I use the pharmacy's delivery for refills. There's no prize for carrying kitty litter up the stairs. A local church runs a volunteer driver program for medical appointments. I made sure I'm on their list. The more ways I have to get where I'm going, the less trapped I feel, and the more likely I am to say yes to life outside these walls. Healthcare is a partnership, and my rule is to be the captain of my side. I keep a running note of questions for my next appointment on the fridge, and when I go, I bring that list and a pen. If something feels off, I say it plainly and ask, what can we try? What should I watch for? When we follow up, I like to bring a friend when I can, not for hand-holding, but because 2 sets of ears catch more. Every year I book the basics that protect my independence more than almost anything else. Vision and hearing checks, a dental cleaning, and a medication review. When my hearing slipped, I resisted aids for months because I didn't like the idea, but loneliness crept in right behind it. Hearing better made me safer crossing the street and more willing to go to gatherings. If you're squinting to read labels or catching your toe on thresholds, glasses and proper shoes are simple fixes with big payoffs. I ask for physical therapy, not only after I've hurt something, but when everyday tasks start to feel harder. A few sessions taught me better ways to get off the floor, carry groceries, and climb stairs without stressing my joints. Prevention is cheaper than recovery, and it's a lot kinder to your spirit. Sleep is another pillar. I used to fall asleep in my chair after dinner and then stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. Now I protect my bedtime like an appointment. I dim the lights, make a cup of something warm without caffeine, and put the phone face down. If I nap, I keep it short and earlier in the day. Morning light helps me fall asleep at night, so I open the curtains right after breakfast and sit near the window while I write a few lines in my journal. On nights when my back mutters, I keep a heating pad handy and do a few gentle stretches I learned from a therapist. Pain that's managed early doesn't grow into pain that rules your day. If sleep keeps misbehaving, I bring it up with my doctor because good rest is not a luxury. It's part of staying steady on my feet and even on my moods. The emotional side matters just as much as the practical. I keep purpose on my calendar, not just appointments. I give myself one big thing per day and a handful of small ones. Big could be visiting a friend, weeding the garden for 20 minutes, or baking a pan of cornbread to share. Small might be watering the fern, stretching my calves, or writing a note to my grandson. I call these appointments with joy, and I treat them like they matter because they do. The news doesn't get the first or the last word on my day. Music does, or a chapter of a book, or the sound of the birds on the balcony. I try to talk to a human every day, even if it's just a quick hello to the mail carrier. I don't wait to feel social before I reach out. I reach out, and the feeling follows. If loneliness shows up anyway, I name it and make a plan, a walk, a cup of tea with a neighbor, a class at the community center. Purpose gives structure to the hours, and structure is a kind of safety. Paperwork is unglamorous, but it keeps decisions in your hands. I put my bills on automatic payment where I can, and I review my statements once a month during Maintenance Monday. I froze my credit to make life harder for scammers, and I have a rule for my phone and door. If I didn't ask the call or the visit, I don't give information or open up. My bank knows a passphrase to verify me, and I have a simple script for unsolicited offers. I don't make decisions on the spot. Send it in writing. I also put my wishes on paper. A healthcare proxy, a durable power of attorney, and an advance directive live in that same folder by the door, and a copy with my daughter. These documents aren't about giving up control. They are about choosing who stand beside you if you need a hand. Nothing spells freedom like a good plan. I practice small emergencies the way you might practice a recipe. If I end up on the floor, how will I get up? I learned a method that uses a sturdy chair. Roll to my side, crawl to the chair, put my forearms on the seat, bring one knee up, then the other foot, and turn to sit. I don't wait for a crisis to learn it. I walk through it slowly when I'm feeling fine. I keep a little overnight bag in the closet with essentials, copies of my documents, a phone charger, a spare pair of glasses, a change of clothes, and a 2-day supply of medications. If I ever need to leave in a hurry, I'm not starting from zero. That bag gives me a sense of control that's worth its weight in calm. When I put all this together, it forms a simple picture. I make my body ready for the life I want. I shape my home to be a safe ally. I start my days with steadiness. I fuel myself with food that supports me. I build a small circle I can lean on and contribute to. I let technology and services carry the heavy parts. I keep my paperwork tidy, and I protect my sleep and spirit. These choices aren't flashy, and they don't happen all at once. They're layers, added gently, and each one makes the next easier. If any of this feels big, pick one small thing and do it today. Roll up the loose rug. Move your favorite mug to the easy shelf. Put a glass of water by the bed. Write down a neighbor's number, or take a short walk while the kettle heats. Small steps are how big lives are built, and you deserve a life that fits you. Tell me in the comments which rule you're going to try first, or share the habit that's kept you steady in your own home. I love learning from you. If this was helpful, tap like so more people see it, and subscribe for more practical, encouraging ideas for living on your own terms. Here's to coffee in your own mug, music at your own volume, and the sweet freedom of waking up right where you want to be.